Thank you all very much. Thanks for that great Florida welcome.
Absolute silence.
You know, it's great to be back at CPAC, although something is a little different this year. You know, for the first time ever, CPAC is not in our nation's capital. That's because they won't let us anywhere near our nation's capital. Think about it. Even though cases are plummeting and vaccination rates are surging, we are still banned from getting anywhere near our nation's capital.
Wait, you realize 600,000 people live in D.C., right?
Now contrast that with what happened last summer with the BLM protests there. Thousands of people in the streets as cases were surging. Did Democratic politicians try to lock that down? No, they went out and marched with them. Now, maybe if CPAC had promised to burn down buildings and tear down statues, they would have let us up there.
Except 96% of the protests were completely peaceful.
But there's nowhere I would rather be than here with my fellow patriots, free than locked down in Washington, D.C.
It feels like some guy justifying himself after getting dumped. I'd rather be single anyway.
But just think about that contrast. That contrast strikes at the heart of our freedom. That your rights may depend on what you say, or what you believe, or the color of your skin. That's the opposite of freedom.
Then why do you oppose BLM protests, kneeling for the flag, and voting?
And conservatives everywhere, and really just normal Americans.
He's just making a silent majority out of nowhere, despite the fact there are millions more Democrats than Republicans.
Who don't subscribe to every fad and fashion of the far left. See risk everywhere they turn. Big business may take your job away. Big tech may deplatform you.
Yes, big business and tech giants, well known to be the bastions of socialism.
Your liberal college may kick you out of school.
Imagine thinking liberal and left mean the same thing.
Your liberal governor may shut down your church. And why does the left do that?
You don't? These are corporations aiming to preserve profits. It's the establishment media that's censoring people.
It's because they failed to heed the warning of Ronald Reagan in his farewell address. They lost what he called the unambivalent appreciation of America.
Sounds like some chauvinist crap.
Now, many on the left have concluded that America is a fundamentally flawed, irredeemable, wicked place.
Wait, if we thought we were irredeemable, why would we bother with politics?
They have a lot of names for it, but whatever banner it flies under, it gets back to that anti-American idea. You can call it wokeness or political correctness, cancel culture.
I love how he connects anti-racism with anti-Americanism.
And call it critical race theory, critical gender theory, critical whatever.
You clearly don't know what critical theory is.
Some people call it systemic racism. But here's their point. The key word is not racism. The key word is systemic. It doesn't matter so much what the system is guilty of, only that the system is guilty and it needs to be burned to the ground.
No, our criticisms of the system are pretty clear.
So many liberals think that about America. And how do they plan to do that? They plan to do it by rejecting our beautiful Declaration of Independence.
What?
And the central promise of America, that we are all created equal in the eyes of God and we all have equal rights under the law.
Well, it turns out the promises of the Declaration of Independence weren't fulfilled back in the day, and neither are they today.
But too many of them no longer believe that. That's why there's no more urgent task today than the defense of America and a simple, unapologetic patriotism. We face many threats in this country, whether from China or Iran.
Bro, they just want us to leave them alone.
Or Islamic terrorism, but there is no more pernicious threat to America than the rejection of our founding principles and our heritage and our tradition.
Holy fuck, the worship of heritage and tradition. This is some real fashy shit.
And to all those on the left who would reject those things, I have a message. We will defend America without fear, without reservation, and without apology.
Notice how he equates wanting to change America for the better to hating America.
After all, we've seen what happens when people lose the nerve to defend America. Last summer, chaos and riots engulfed our streets.
Yeah, more exaggerative fear-mongering.
Police stations were firebombed. Buildings, businesses were looted. Courthouses were attacked. Statues to our heroes were toppled.
Oh no, Robert E. Lee.
The police in some cases were overwhelmed and didn't have the numbers to stop the violence. In other cases, liberal politicians refused to allow the police to restore order. You may recall, we were all told these are mostly peaceful protests.
Oh yeah, when it's the largest civil rights movement in the history of the United States involving millions of people, yeah, of course some parts of it are going to become violent, but 96% of them were peaceful. And of the 4% that did become violent, how many of those were instigated by the police? How many were instigated by white supremacists like the Proud Boys? And how many were instigated by just random rioters who were just opportunists? Pearl clutching is the same strategy used by conservatives to oppose Martin Luther King back in the day, and the association of black people with the fringe violence of these mass movements has been used time and again to quash progressive change. Enough with their fear-mongering.
If the police cannot, or especially if they are not allowed to restore order, then it is time to send in the troops.
I can't stress to you how authoritarian it is to use isolated incidents of violence as justification for sending in the military to crush entire civil rights movements.
And what happened next? Total meltdown with the little social justice warriors at the New York Times. All these children that had been marinated in the language of the campus seminar room. They said things like, "Your words put my life at risk."
Who said that exactly?
As if typing on their phone, sitting on their futons, was as dangerous as being a cop trying to stop rioters in the streets. Or your words are violence. No, I'm sorry, kiddo. Words are words. Violence is what your friends are doing out on the streets of America.
These people can't comprehend that the same word can have multiple meanings.
And of course, the New York Times editors, they caved and rolled over and they apologized. They said my work didn't meet their standards. That's one time I actually agree with the New York Times. My work did not meet their standards. It far exceeded their normally lousy standards.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but please bring back Ted Cruz.
You know, some people on the left even called for me to apologize. So let me say again, I will never apologize for defending America.
What do you want me to do? I just love America. I'm just defending my country from the black people. I'm not racist. I just love America.
And you know, one of the first things I learned in the Army, really one of the first things anyone learns in the Army, is the 5 principles of patrolling.
The idea that society should take inspiration from and be structured like a military is super fascist.
And that's why conservatives should never apologize for backing the blue.
The real way to back the blue is to not send them out to deal with every little problem every single citizen has. We can use social workers for that. They should do their job of keeping the peace.
And whether it's a child mob at the New York Times, or a social media mob, or an actual mob in our streets, we will never bend the knee to a politically correct mob, ever.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm politically incorrect. You're just fucking racist.
The New York Times is a laughingstock, obviously. But this is no laughing matter. The Democrats expect us all to surrender, to capitulate. They want to control the terms of the debate. They even want to control our language. Have you seen that Joe Biden wants to ban the term illegal aliens?
Holy fuck, this is like saying the police aren't allowed to call black people nigger anymore. They're controlling our speech.
What does he want to replace it with? He wants to replace it with undocumented non-citizen.
Yes, a far more neutral term allowing government officials to do their jobs without bias.
True, I'm not making it up. Why are they undocumented? Because they're illegal.
Oh, no. Their actions might be illegal, but calling the person illegal, that's fucking
simple,
racist.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg of their open borders immigration agenda.
Who the fuck wants open borders? I mean, I do, but not now.
They want to give amnesty to 15 to 20 million illegal aliens with no strings attached, with voting rights, presumably in time for what they hope will be Kamala Harris's re-election campaign.
This is so mask off. He doesn't care about dehumanizing people or letting them die in Mexico as long as they're not able to vote against him.
They have halted deportations for all illegal aliens.
Lies. It was only for some, and the freeze was blocked by a federal judge.
Murderers, rapists, terrorists, MS-13 gang members are not being deported.
Casually connecting brown people to violent criminals.
They stopped building a wall on our border, and they put up a wall around your United States Capitol.
One of the walls was built in response to a violent insurrection. The other doesn't even work.
And right right now, as we speak, they are literally tracking down illegal aliens in Mexico who Donald Trump turned away to invite them to come back.
That's highly improbable.
That's not catch and release, that's recruit and release. And of course, you can't fly into America without a negative coronavirus test, but you can cross our border without one.
Yeah, because if you're traveling by car or by foot, you're not going to infect some other family.
Now, I've got news for the Democrats again. Turns out this open borders agenda is not very popular. You can see that in the polls about Joe Biden's plans. 2020 was one of the best elections we've ever had, with Hispanic voters in particular and with immigrant voters in general.
Fucking Cuban and Venezuelan class traitors.
It reminds me of a story a friend of mine back home told me.
Don't care about your personal anecdotes. Provide data or shut the fuck up.
Immigrants who obeyed our laws and came here the right way, who earned their citizenship and earned the right to vote, are some of our most patriotic and loyal Americans. People who escaped oppression from countries like Cuba or Venezuela or China.
Unlike the illegal immigrants who come here not out of necessity.
More than ever, we need that kind of simple, unambivalent, unashamed patriotism. The proud love of a great country. Because America truly is a great country, it is worth fighting for, it is worth dying for. And it is worth defending our history.
What history? Conservatives are the ones who constantly look at the past with rose-colored lenses.
These radical liberals, they want to erase our history.
What the fuck is a radical liberal? That's an oxymoron.
They want to replace it with their crazy Marxist theories.
Ah, the cultural Marxism conspiracy theory. Another fascist talking
They
point.
may say that it's about the Civil War or racism. Don't believe them. Look at what's happening in San Francisco. They're trying to rename schools named after George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, that's actually pretty cringe. I made a video about post-hoc cancellations, linked in the top right corner.
And Dianne Feinstein. People, if Dianne Feinstein is not liberal enough for you, I don't know what to tell you. But they are more focused on renaming Abraham Lincoln High School than they are opening up so kids can go back and learn there. And remember this too. Last summer, as those mobs rampaged in the streets, they tore down statues of Abraham Lincoln and U.S. Grant. When they're tearing down statues of Lincoln and Grant, it's not about the Civil War or racism, it's because they hate America.
Funny how he says they, as if everybody to the left of him is just one monolithic group that all believes the same thing.
They want to erase and rewrite our history. These liberals read 1984 and thought it wasn't a cautionary tale, but a how-to manual.
George Orwell was a socialist, fuckwad.
These are the same liberals that were burning our flag over and over again last summer in the streets. And what happened? The media celebrated them. Kamala Harris bailed them out of jail.
Holy fuck, this guy's actually arguing that people who burn the flag should stay in jail. Hiding behind the labels of freedom and patriotism, now that's Orwellian.
Well, I think you all know what we should do with rioters in the street. We should lock up every last one of them. You know, I'll confess that it makes my blood boil when I see liberals desecrating our flag. When I was in the Army,
Yeah, fuck your anecdotes.
the same flag that pampered athletes disrespect by taking a knee during our national anthem. You would think it was the least those athletes could do to stand up for our flag when our national anthem plays. But if they won't stand up, then we will stand up for our flag. Let me close with just one final story.
Nope, fuck that. No more stories.
When America is under assault and conservatives are under attack, we will never retreat.
Such fucking crybabies,
We
man.
will never surrender, and we will always defend and protect the United States of America. Thank you all. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
God doesn't exist.